What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Show and Tech. So in today's video, we're looking at the M1 MacBook Air and the iPad Pro and breaking down which one of these two you should buy. Now, just so that everyone's aware, I am a base model bandit. I do not want to spend any more money than I have to. So this is just the base iPad Pro and the base M1 MacBook Air. So first things first, obviously I have both the M1 MacBook Air and an iPad Pro. So clearly I didn't necessarily make the one or the other decision because I think my use case is a little bit different than most people. So we're gonna break down who should buy either of these based on productivity, creativity, portability, and finally, entertainment. And we're talking about the 12.9-inch iPad Pro model. So at face value, both of these come in at the same price. So the M1 MacBook Air is $999 and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is also $999. Now, I have very large hands. I'm a large human being. So for me, it just made sense to get the bigger iPad. Most people that I talk to prefer the smaller $799 variant, which is 11.4 inches or whatever it might be. It's smaller. Okay, so right off the bat, in terms of the price for the M1 MacBook Air, you're gonna pay $200 more than the iPad. Now, the M1s have been a fantastic upgrade this year. Apple got rid of the Intel chips, started creating their own, and based on the fact that everything's now being created in-house, the overall efficiency of their devices have gone up tenfold. The same can be said though with the iPads because they've been using their own proprietary chips in iPads for a pretty long time now. And so the iPads have also been very powerful, whether it is that you chose the smaller or the larger one. So in terms of productivity, at face value, looking at the laptop, you might think that that might be the better choice because it comes with a keyboard built in. But if you go with the smaller iPad coming in at $799, you can buy the Magic Keyboard attachment for an additional $299. And now you've got that portion out of the way. So it's very easy to grab either of these things and start typing up a script or an assignment or whatever it might be. Yes, the M1 is going to be able to use the Microsoft Office suite for those of us who prefer to write our documents in Word. But for me personally, I don't really lose out on much when I just go over to Google Docs. So if you're on the iPad, Google Docs and the whole Google suite is always going to be an option for you. And for a fraction of the cost more, by grabbing the iPad and the Magic Keyboard, you've already matched these two guys up. And so now they're pretty much the same thing. And I know there's tons of videos out there where people say, I tried to use my iPad as a laptop for 10 days and this is the result. I don't want to call anybody out, but I definitely think that you can use the iPad Pro as a quote unquote laptop, providing that whatever job or whatever course of study you're taking doesn't require very specific applications that are not able to be found in a mobile version. So in terms of creativity, obviously the iPad is going to blow the M1 here out of the water. For creatives who like to draw or just use the touch of the Apple Pencil versus a mouse, you can do pretty much anything on an iPad. I ran my whole YouTube channel off of the iPad Pro for months, and that goes from recording B-roll to creating and editing my thumbnails. Any pictures that I took at family events or whatever on my camera, I edited those in Lightroom on the iPad as well. And then I threw all my video and stuff into LumaFusion and exported all these videos that you've seen on YouTube, and it took maybe 5 or 6 minutes to export. On the M1 MacBook Air, yes, you can still use all those things. So Lightroom is still available. I can still use Final Cut Pro, but that costs a lot more than LumaFusion. So all of the options are still there for the M1 MacBook Air, but they do usually come in at a higher price. So for me, it just made more sense on a creative level, even though I'm not someone that draws per se, I'm not an illustrator, but the iPad definitely still has way more uses for me when it comes to overall creativity. And I think that would be the case for most people. In terms of portability, the M1 MacBook Air is extremely light and it can be thrown into any laptop case that you buy. Same idea though with the iPad Pro. I love that both of these have decided to go without fans. So that extra cumbersome part that they would have thrown in both these devices to make them a little bit thicker does not exist anymore, and neither of them need it. I've not had any issues with either of these overheating. They're both very light, and so in terms of portability, I would rate them both roughly the same. However, the iPad, even at its 12.9-inch form, is going to be the one that is the most convenient. So if you want to take it with you on a bus or on a plane or just pop it out on the couch, it's much easier, in my opinion, to take that out and watch a movie than it would be to take your laptop out. And then finally, the entertainment. So the M1 MacBook Air is actually able to knock out a couple of games. Like I play League of Legends on my M1. I play lots of games on my M1, but I play a lot of games on my iPad as well. And obviously it's different types of games. You're not going to be able to jump on your iPad and play Warzone with your friends like you might be able to do on a Mac, but I don't think anyone really does that anyways. The point is, you can still get gaming done. You can still get that entertainment done. However, it's just a little bit different. Overall though, when it comes to like streaming podcasts, using Spotify, watching movies, all of those things, yes, both of them can do it, but in my opinion, the iPad just does it better. So why do I have both? The reason why I have both is I originally bought the iPad and the Mac at the same time. I bought the Mac because I thought that it would be more helpful when it came to courses that I was taking. But at the same time, I'm someone that likes to write down all of my notes. So I thought the iPad would be good for not only running my channel, but for when it came to writing down any notes that I needed. What I ended up finding was that I used the iPad exclusively. I never ever brought the MacBook to class to use. And all the people that were around me seeing me use my iPad would come up during lessons, after lessons, and say, I didn't know an iPad could do all that. And I really wish that I had that instead of this laptop or whatever it might be that they were using. So for me, when it comes down to the choice of which one should you grab, especially for someone who is a creative, so you're creating content or whatever it might be, you like to illustrate, whatever, I think that the iPad definitely trumps the Mac. But if you're someone that for any reason might, even on an off day, require one of those apps like Microsoft PowerPoint specifically for some reason, or I don't know, you want to use Adobe Premiere to edit your videos instead of LumaFusion, then, well, Premiere is a bad example. Final Cut Pro, for example, if you were a diehard, needed to use Final Cut Pro to edit your video versus LumaFusion, even on a one-off chance, then yes, the MacBook is for you, the MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, whichever one you choose. But overall, I think that the iPad is going to be the one that makes most people happy and is able to provide answers to whatever it is that you might need on a day-to-day basis. So in my opinion, don't listen to all those videos saying that the iPad Pro can't replace a laptop, especially when most of those people, all that they do in the video is they word process, they scroll Twitter, they watch movies, and they listen to Spotify. Like all those things can be done on a tablet. But again, that's just my opinion, and this is just YouTube, so you guys can hate it. Some of you might agree with me. Who knows? At the end of the day, this is just my opinion, and if it's helped even one person out there figure out which one might be right for them, then I am totally happy with that. So feel free to leave your comments down below. Which one do you use, the iPad, or do you use a Mac? Or if you're trying to get into the market, which one are you leaning more towards? Let me know down below and we can keep the discussion going down there. But that is it from me. Much love as always. Throwing up two of them, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.